So I made a video the other day. I wasn't in a good way, and I put it to the world that why did you persecute and murder and torture Jesus and all his friends and family and everybody he cared about? And I never really cared. I know the answer. Like, I just put it to you first, but yeah. So let's explain and explore this. So I'm fairly certain, for about 900 years before Jesus, the time of our Lord, that there were lots of gypsies, loads of Ahab and Jezebel gypsies doing the most messed up, profane, and many families were protected from this and tried to protect themselves from this, and Jesus' family was one of these families that tried to protect themselves from scarlet waters and stuff, and they had protections and stuff. But anyway, I don't want to get too much in detail. It was a very 1984 scenario, basically, before Jesus. A very 1984 scenario before Christ, our Lord. The good Lord set you free. These are great people, just anybody's, you know what I mean? Like in 1984, he's just anybody, but anyway, they weren't happy because he went into the temple and got rid of them all. That's the poetry in the Bible we see in the Gospels, that Jesus realized that John's temple of Jacob, Israel, the Baptist was a Levite. John the Baptist was a Levite, and he was bearing the crux of all of Israel, and he was tormented and driven insane. And Jesus realized this and went into the temple and got rid of them all, and then they called him trouble. Obviously they're going to call him, but he was righteous. Like, he was the way, he was true. Like, they weren't supposed to be there. They were merchants in the temple. There were snakes lying in wait, and actually it was probably sophisticated back then, because I think it had a lot to do with tax paying and being in cabals and being, you had to pay for a subscription to Christianity back then, kind of thing. You had to kind of be connected, and Jesus was somewhat connected. But that's again beside the point. So they were not happy, basically. And he's a perfect young man, so that's when they brought him to Pontius Pilate. And it's like, what? Why do you want to capitally punish or murder this young, intelligent, friendly person? And why are you calling him such a trouble? Because, and like in Titus Ground, it's very like Titus Ground, actually. Titus Ground is something you want to consider. Because one day this kid comes along and he speaks the truth, and he turns everything upside down, because everything was upside down for a very long time. As if it was like a swastika, it was all flying backwards, and everybody was doing terrible stuff, thinking it was the way. And he tried to turn it back. It's very difficult to turn this gigantic momentum backwards, because when you do, loads of other things are going to whip around, and like in Titus Crown, a lot of people lost justice. A lot of people weren't powerful and rich and famous anymore, and a lot of people were revealed as absolute sodomites and completely backwards preaching and backwards teaching and backwards horrible things that they were doing. So they called him a trouble, and he was the truth. Like, that was the proper way. Nice clockwise, bridges across. So they called him a trouble. And then, again, this temple has a lot of potential and power and persuasion involved in it, and they are desperate devils, and they desperately clung onto it. Now, the great comedy of the event is that gospel truth, like, it's rather awesome. So, technically, Rome killed Jesus, technically, but loads of gypsies and weird cabals encouraged and wanted this to happen, but technically Rome signed the death contract. And then Rome also went about persecuting and trying to eliminate and stamp out this bushfire that was growing, because, again, it wasn't under true lordship. So if you don't have true lordship, it's a burning bush. And they were very familiar to the burning bush, and they just thought that was the way. Where if you have a unified temple under true lordship, it's very nice. And it's like a triangle, like in the White Stripes video, Seven Nation Army. I'm going to fight them all. Switzerland, France, Norway, America. 7 gypsy turncoats, and their armies won't hold me back. They rip me off, bonking my wife right behind my back. Anyway, so when they realise that there is no stamping this out, and it gets down to it, and it's very Medusa-y, and it just doesn't die, and they very much realise, I think it was Constantine, very much realised, like, and it's interesting that they realised and admitted the whole thing is backwards. And then Rome immediately, instead of being an empire, became Christianity and tried to not take over Christianity, but admitted to Christianity. They admitted, basically, that this is the way. And like, shukra, we are very, very wrong and have been wrong. And the only way they could save their sperm and save their balls, I don't know, it was 50 years late after Christ or 500 years after Christ, but they realized, like, crap, we were wrong. And then they went around giving the oblations. They went around telling the truth. They went around giving everybody the explicit gospel truth. Despite the fact in the gospel truth it says that Rome killed them. So they realized, like, we just have to say this. Like, it's not a confession, but it is an admittance to the world. That's like, yes, we killed him. Yes, we did that. And they realized the only thing that was going to save their balls was the truth. Eventually, by hook or crook, 50 years or 500 years later, they realized you have to tell the truth on this event. So, desperate devils trying to conceal and lie and adulterously, hide in the field and prevent it will happen, one day or another. And the longer you wait, the worse your sperm is going to get, the world is going to get. If you're afraid what other people think more so than what God thinks, that's what I call adultery. And you only care about what other people think and you don't care what God thinks. And if you think other people can punish you with a jail cell or a death sentence even, which might be a relief, well, you want to know. Well, I wouldn't know. I don't think anybody could know the eternal, true judgment. And I don't think humans can do much to you, whereas, So I wouldn't worry too much about what all the other people think about you. I'd be gay about it. Hop on your bike like the fucking Roman Empire and start telling the truth. I think that's it in a nutshell anyway. I'm going to play some guitar. Might make a video series. Hopefully it's a nice evening. Happy bank holiday. Are you willing to work Jewish bank holidays? I was just talking about taxi driver, to somebody recently. And I love that question in that movie. He's been, are you willing to work Jewish bank holidays? Technically the weekend. The Jewish bank holiday is every Saturday. Are you willing to work on weekends? And he's a taxi driver. And it's kind of hard to say. Any answer he gives him is going to, because he's clearly Jewish. If he says, yeah, of course I'm willing to work on weekends, I'm a taxi driver, I was like, that's a great answer. You're going to work the Sabbath. If you say, like, I'm not going to work Sabbath, we were looking for a taxi driver. It's no good answer. Yeah, I like that movie. Yeah, that's just a follow-up. And why the original video said, why did these gypsies turn in Kabul and team up and conspire against you? They're at a loss, but it was a loss they didn't deserve in the first place. So they're not really at a loss. They just had many too years of indulgences, got used to it and coveted it. And he brought righteous order. And he was in trouble. Call me that all the time. You're in trouble. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm in trouble in the truth. And the truth is a trouble for gypsies and criminals and scandalous merchants. But the truth, shall set you free, and only the truth shall set you free. You cannot drag this adultery too far, man. I'm gonna go rock out, that's what I do. Rock and roll. As long as there's, like, people need food, there'll be restaurants in business. As long as there's rock and roll, Mike Matthews will be in business. So rock and roll, guys. Might be the